Okay, hello everyone. This looks like it's booting, so I'm just going to get started. And there's always that buffer period that I think everyone just kind of waits to buffer, and then there's a delay. So I'm just going to keep talking through it. So my name is James Giglio. I am the founder of MVP Interactive. We're an extended reality technology company that helps large brands and professional sports teams create bespoke and experiential consumer engagement technologies. So I'm happy to be here with you today. And as I mentioned, we're just going to go ahead and get started into our mentor session with me. So the very first question today is from Yolindi. She's from a company called Unique Pillows. And the question that she asked is, I feel like I need to stop, go back and restart with the basics. I had already started my business when I joined AO, and I don't have the basic foundation and processes down. Where do you recommend I start? I need a clear vision and roadmap and projections on where I'm going and how to get there. Business description and background of the question is we manufacture decorative throw pillows and pillow inserts. The potential for our growth is huge. We currently do about 15K a month, but I need to at least double and triple that. I can't scale haphazardly. This needs to be very calculated and planned. We're a mother-daughter team and designing creates custom decorative throw pillows for home and business branding. Well, listen, I wish I had a little bit more detail in terms of what exact challenges you're facing, but I think you're doing the right thing with identifying a potential issue within your organization, or at least trying to get ahead of it. Someone that's been in business for about 9 years, I was at the AO event back in February, and I was able to identify certain things within my business that I needed to kind of start over with as well. And so I think you're on the right path in terms of, taking a bit of a respite and, reapproaching your business. The good thing is you now have some experience behind you. You now have some things that that work, what doesn't work, and then kind of use that as a launch pad to reform out these new processes. So the first thing I would identify, and again, without really knowing the details of what your struggles are, and if you're truly looking to start over, I think you'll hear a lot from our mentors here in the group about processes and procedures and how beneficial they are. The first and foremost important process in any business is really setting up a right sales process, right? And so it sounds like you already have a client base, you're generating some money each month, but have you really evaluated what your addressable market is? I'd imagine so, right? Like you have an idea of who your buyers are, who your clientele could be. And so, taking that information and then, figuring out a way on how you're going to address those potential clients and what you need to do, to get in front of them and get your product in as an opportunity for them to purchase. Now, is that a digital strategy? Is it a social strategy? I'm not sure. Is it an e-commerce strategy? Those are the things that you should talk about. But also, setting up a sales system and process in terms of how you're going to continue to outreach and acquire new customers. And from there, that'll certainly help your sales. I mean, it seems like you even though you have sales, you're a little frustrated that that they can be doubled and tripled. So, if you think about setting up a sales system, certainly within the group and where to look, I say this ad nauseum, but Tom Black is the guru within the organization here. So I would definitely lean to him and learn some, real organic strategies on how to procure new business. And then the next thing you can kind of, go through this supply chain, if you will, start to finish, where, let's assume that you're 3 times your revenues, and now you need to get into, the management and the operations of your business. What systems can you put into place to appropriately facilitate the production of these pillows? I mean, are you sewing them? Are you printing them? Are you doing everything, just between you and your daughter? Because you can imagine that's not a very scalable workflow. And so then you'd have to look to research to find suppliers or, a factory that can help you. And again, assuming you're not doing this already and starting over, these are the research elements that you should really be taking into consideration and then putting them into some type of manual and process, so you have that template that you can follow, right? So you kind of set up your sales systems, then you get your procurement, or excuse me, your production, i.e. management and operations, to make sure that you are not only going to be able to produce the high volume of pillows, do you need to bring on a designer, look at ways that you can partner with other, companies that can help package and sort of develop your product. And then, you need to figure out how you're going to service those clients, right? And that's all a part of the supply chain. Now, by no stretch am I an expert at any retail sale in terms of what our technology does, or what our products are, but I would certainly consider a pillar or the fundamentals of these processes for your business: sales, operations, management, and then of course, you want to focus in on your finances, right? And are you using any online accounting tools like QuickBooks? Do you have an e-commerce strategy? Are you selling online? Is there an opportunity for you to spin up a real e-commerce platform, which I know there are a few gurus here in the group as well. And so, but if you were just to kind of simplify, the pillars that we talk about in business, whether they're 4 or 5, and the definition of each of them. But again, sales and marketing, management, operations, and finance. If you really focus on those elements and kind of what that means for your business, and put them into some type of manual, whether it be through Trainial or some other platform that that everything is listed and organized very clearly. So when you do scale, you can just bring on people outside of the 2-person shop that you have now. You can point them right in the direction to reference material, and they get going. So again, I hope that answered your question to a degree without having too much detail here. But again, if you just focus on pillars of any business and to set up those operations or the procedures, you'll be in a good spot. All right, the next question here is from Corey Stevens. Corey has asked, when do you know if it's the right time to approach your prospect with your product or opportunity? I'm an independent distributor for a global health and wellness company, i.e. network marketing. After establishing a relationship with the prospect and building rapport with them, how will you know when it's the right time to approach them with your opportunity or product? How will you go about approaching them with what you have to offer? Well, there's no time like the present. That's the first recommendation. So if you have a valuable service that you can provide to any prospect, you got to get out there and get it in front of them. I think if you, in the background, can do any level of research to know as much about that individual as possible before you approach them, and show a strong value proposition and how you can bring value to them or help them, without even letting them know, or without knowing every detail of their needs at this point, I think that's going to put you in a position that there is no reason for hesitation. There's the number one rule is just to get out there and start doing it. And I can tell a quick little anecdote. When I started my business, I was pitching ideas. When I developed this technology business, there was not a lot of opportunities to show reference material. I just knew I had a vision to address a market, and I did everything in my power. I was running around all over New York City, meeting with any brand or agency that would take my meeting. At the time, I was able to put together some level of capabilities through a presentation, but I had no particular product to sell, as crazy as this sounds. But I was able to find my way into the NBA league office, in which I was able to pitch a vision based on a particular need that I knew the league was going through with their all-star games, and talking about technology that can enhance the fan experience. And that's what it took. I didn't have any slideshows. I didn't have any real tangible product. I had images of what I wanted to do. But the point being is, I would have never been able to find that opportunity if I sat and strategized and just, didn't take action. And so I think the most important thing is to immediately take action. And, if you have a prospect, you get there in front of them, and just be prepared. And whatever that means, if it's research, knowing about them, having a presentation, what have you, as long as you feel prepared, just get out there and you'll learn. So don't hesitate. All right, next question is Matthew Phipps. Question he asked is, how do you approach a business partner when your responsibilities have become more than the original agreement for a percentage in the company? Ooh. All right, our company sells a bike product that creates sparks as you wheelie. Sounds fun. I was invited to start this business and lead the product development for a 12% stake in the company. Now my business partner has me doing website design, graphic design, sales portals, customer support, shipping, along with our design next round of products. How do I approach the conversation that is what not in the original agreement over my responsibilities of 12% of the businesses? And what is an appropriate compensation to ask for? Or is it best to be happy with my percentage and do everything I can to make this business successful? That is not a recommendation I would take unless you were by yourself doing everything by yourself and you had no partners. But the first thing I would ask is, how is this agreement come into place? Is this a handshake deal? Do you have an operating agreement in place? Is there a contract in place? Because when you talk about equity, this is a very sticky situation because of all the legal and tax ramifications. And I'm assuming this is a real business that has organized and and it sounds like it has. But I would take a look at how legal your agreement is in the sense of it being rock solid and tangible in terms of if you were able to get to attorneys to review it, is there ways that in a worst case scenario, changes could be made. But listen, it sounds like you're probably a small company. I don't think that there is any problem with you approaching your partner at a level of dissatisfaction, and you can go ahead and state all of the things that you are doing and feel like representing a larger responsibility and task list that is commensurate to more equity. The squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? And so it sounds like, as an entrepreneur, regardless whether you're a partner, one or two person shop, but if you're equal partners, there are going to be times, or especially in the beginning, that you're going to be doing things way out of scope of your normal responsibilities or what you thought you would be doing. So if that person is not kind of going through that type of dynamic change, or are you getting paid is another question. Are you getting compensated beyond the equity that they could ask, they could justify your workload because you are being compensated? Did you found the business? They gave you equity, but number one is take a look at what your legal protection is to be able to see how legitimate the agreement is. But I would go ahead and, a partnership is like a relationship or a marriage, and you should be able to have these difficult conversations early before it gets out of hand and you're in a situation that you can't work back. Because say this is on a handshake deal right now, and then you keep quiet, and a year or two later maybe you raise money, you get clients, and now you have a complete operating agreement that you're locked in, and now you're really stuck, and now you've lost all your leverage. The other thing is, I'm not suggesting this, but take a look at what you're doing, your responsibilities, and ask yourself, can you do this by yourself? Can you kind of spin off on your own? And if you're really that frustrated and that person is not bringing the value that you're bringing, who needs who here, right? I mean, if it's a creative IP, it could get a little bit, I think there's some flexibility there. But if there's any real product IP and patents and non-disclosures or anything of that nature, worst case scenario, if you got what it takes to kind of build the business, then you're going to have a much higher equity percentage somewhere else, right? So I would consider all of that, but don't wait. Get this addressed before it becomes ironclad, not in your favor. All right, next question is from Shelly. Hi, Shelly. What is your recommendation for handling the stress created from employee mistakes that you have to go back and fix? Ah, yes. Good old management issues, right? Background is fire protection contractor. Just found out that an employee who is no longer with me had made a mistake on one of the sales tax rates for a particular city. I obviously can't write that person up or have a conversation. I want to scream right now. How do you handle this sort of stress? Well, we've all been there. I think in the immediate term, something that has, from a stress standpoint, that's always helped me, and not something that you can do right there in the moment sometimes, but is get out and exercise and try to vent and release the energy in a positive way. I always joke that sometimes I feel like I want a heavy bag in my office to kind of, release. But for the short term stress, I mean, getting out for a walk and any level of exercise to just kind of decompress has always been helpful. But as the leader of the organization and the management of the company, unfortunately, this is a situation where you have to realize, or question, was it the individual or was it the process that allowed this error? And, what can you do in the future to prevent someone making this mistake again? Because you're right. I mean, there's nothing you're going to do. What are you going to do? Call them and track them down after they're out of your organization and, yell at them? That's not going to be very productive. But I would take this as an opportunity to reevaluate whatever that workflow was, and if there was something that you can institute that can make it fail proof, that you have the confidence that you won't have to fix it again, and someone can just kind of walk in and do it. One of the things that I have been trying to get better at is, this saying that I tell myself, that if a problem happens more than twice, it becomes a decision, right? And so if you're not able to fix that problem after repeated times, then you've decided that you're just going to accept it. And whether, that means you're going to be stressed or frustrated, you just have, it's become a decision. And so just just take a look and this up, take it as an opportunity to make sure to see if you could fix it. I know that may be accurate to this case. I'm not sure the specific detail, but again, if a problem happens more than twice, it becomes a decision. It's something that I've been really playing throughout my head in all facets of my business to really make quick action on. All right, next question is from Ricardo Delgado, from Premier Barbershop. Should my business have an employee handbook or operations manual? Well, background on the question: I have a barbershop and I'm looking to build the brand behind it. I want my business to be able to scale in the most smooth way as possible. That way I can get investors interested. Short answer is 100% yes. You should definitely have a handbook and operations manual. Now, there's plenty of platforms out there that can help you, but above all, if you do not have these things early, you're going to feel like you have a daycare center in your operations and with your staff. Everyone has the same level of enthusiasm and excitement. When you start a business, you can conquer the world. You're going to be the greatest, biggest barbershop in the country, and you're going to have people come in, and without any systems, it's going to be like a couple of buddies hanging out, cutting hair, and you're not going to know what to do. So the most important thing is, when you establish these tools early, it sets a tone that you are a legitimate business, that you're not there to hang out. You are there operating a business, and you have real processes behind you that is going to make it a lot more legitimate than maybe some other barbershops that your folks are coming from. So, I think it's critically important to have either of those two documents in hand. And so again, I have referenced Trainial in the past in terms of an operations manual that you can really establish your policies and procedures. You don't necessarily need that platform. Personally, with my business, I mentioned last week or last session, Google Workspace is 100% the platform that we're on now. And then, once you do get into a maybe a PEO, or you're offering benefits and salary, professional employer organization that handles all of those HRs elements and payroll, they usually have a template of a employee handbook that you can plug in your specific details that make sense to you, but it's already pre-packaged into a very legitimate handbook that looks like it's come from some of the largest corporations. So that may not be the best thing right now in this very instant in your scale or your size, but there's no question of templates online that you can pull from and then just plug in the details. But critically important to just set the foundation of the tone of your business, that you are a business and just not a hangout. All right, last question here from Carrington Crothers. A question they asked is it beneficial to engage with companies' prospects on social media organically before reaching out to them directly? Business description and background of question. I'm a commercial brand photographer specializing in e-commerce marketing and brand specific product photography. I recently brought on someone to manage my social media because I was not being consistent and I am actively trying to be better. Does it make sense to engage with brands for a period of time before reaching out to them directly, or does it make a difference or just prolong the sales process? I would suggest what I suggested earlier to Matt in terms of no time like the presence, right? You just I think you have to go for it, and you can be strategic. I think if you set up a strategy on social media and what your sales outreach is, and just follow that strategy, that'll kind of get you moving without overthinking, what you need to do in terms of engagement before just flat out asking, or disclosing your product or service, right? And so, depending on the formats or the platforms that you're using on social media, I don't know if this is Facebook or Instagram, but I know, for example, Gary V is a big proponent of just going right into the DMs of your sales prospects and showing the value that you can bring to that particular brand. If you're more someone like me, like on LinkedIn, I do a lot of my prospecting or researching on LinkedIn. You can then develop a two-step program to kind of engage with them by connecting and then doing your research and then finding another communication tool, email, phone number, to contact them and solicit with your business. So I wouldn't sort of kind of manipulate or just engage with a brand for the sake of engaging and then trying to fishhook some angle for you to sell your services. I would just be prepared, be well researched, and just go for it with a strong value proposition. And it'll be a volume game, and it'll be discouraging at some points because that is a needle in a haystack on some occasion sales prospecting tool. But I think if you're well researched and you can provide a strong value proposition, you'll be in a good position to make some connections there. So this one is, I'm getting some alerts that this was my frame rates were low. Hopefully this went out, but maybe this will be something that can be shared after the fact. I hope I didn't run into any production issues. But anyway, it's a pleasure being with you for this short mentor session. I'm James, and I'll talk to you next month. Bye now.